Hello there, everyone. One would think that receiving is as easy as someone giving something to you. Don't you wish that we lived in a world that was simple as that? The reality is that regardless of whether somebody gives something to you or not, doesn't necessarily mean that you can receive it. All the various ways that people show positive emotion to us, show affection for us, is ultimately love. Affection is a form of love. Help is a form of love. Gifts are a form of love. Because of this, it's important for us to see that if we have an issue with receiving, the thing that we can't receive is in fact love. We can't receive love because, in our past, love was not unconditional. Love was in fact conditioned upon things. Receiving was conditioned upon things. That means love and receiving feels bad instead of good. The first ingredient to learning how to receive love is to recognize the barriers that we have to love. For people who have a hard time receiving, the number one barrier to receiving is distrust of the giver's motives. When we distrust the giver's motives, we fear the consequences of letting down our defenses, and so we cannot open up to receive anything from them. For a thing to be given genuinely, the motive behind it needs to be pure. For so many of us who have a difficult time receiving, the people in our early lives did not give love freely and in pure ways. This makes it so we either do not see or feel love at all, or when we are offered love, instead of feeling good, we feel a sense of panic or vulnerability. To let ourselves be loved and valued for who we really are is to violate our parents' verdict that we are flawed. This belief, which we adopted from our parents about ourselves, justifies the way that we were treated as children. So there's a lot at risk to allowing ourselves to be able to be loved and to be valued for who we really are. It means we have to accept a grim reality in retrospect. The grim reality is that we were not loved like we deserve to be loved. To let ourselves be loved and valued for who we really are arouses the fear that if we do, feel, or think certain things, we will be neglected and abandoned, and in the most primal sense, left to die. So to receive love is to both face a grim retrospective reality, as well as to risk death. People who can't receive have an especially hard time with help. They don't ask for help and they don't get much help, not because help doesn't actually exist for them, but instead because they feel as if the world is completely against them. They feel as if to get what they want, it will be an uphill struggle alone. This belief blinds them to even seeing help when it's offered to them. If they do see help being offered, they often distrust it, thinking that there is a dangerous ulterior motive. In other words, they see help as nothing more than a drawback disguised as help. Deep down, they feel unworthy of help, or as if help means they are incapable. All too often, our motive for giving love is selfish. We give because we want to get. In other words, love is our way of taking from others. Selfishness is defined as concern only for one's own welfare, benefit, and interests, regardless of the impact on others. Selfishness is not a natural state. It only occurs when a person is focused on and convinced of the lack in their life. We often confuse self-love and selfishness, but there is a big difference between the two. Selfishness is created when a person who does not know how to love themselves and meet their needs feels that internal deprivation and then spends their lives trying to fill that hole externally. It's very uncomfortable to spend time around a selfish individual because it will constantly feel as if that person is taking and taking from you. They do not know how to get or create what they want without taking it from someone else. They do not know how to love themselves, so their life depends on getting you to give them those things. If you don't, they're at a loss of what to do. They feel powerless and get angry because they're scared. But when we take a step back, compassion will show us that they come from a space of internal starvation. Expecting them not to jump at the opportunity to take what they are starving for is like expecting a starving child to not steal food. Brian grew up with a mother who told him that she sacrificed everything for him. As a result, he grew up feeling a sense of guilt and a sense of being in debt to her. When he decided to go off to college, about 3 months in, his mother phoned him up to inform him that she needed him back at home. When his mother called and said, "I need you to move home to help us with the family business," Brian did not want to. When he resisted initially, his mother retorted by saying, "I fed you and clothed you and gave you everything so you could have a better life than I did. I did it all for you. Why can't you do this one thing for me? You're so selfish." Brian's guilt and sense of debt forced him to quit college and move home to, in fact, run the family business, where he spent the rest of his life absolutely miserable, all in the name of love. This example highlights a truth, and the truth is that love that is given to get something back is not love. It confuses us about what love really is, and it makes love a dirty thing. There are 5 main barriers when it comes to receiving love. I'm going to list them for you now. Number 1, we can have a barrier to love because we feel as if their love makes us vulnerable to them and gives them power over us. This is especially true if the idea of love was equated to the idea of leverage. We have this barrier to receiving if love came with a side dish of guilt, duty, or debt, as you saw in the previous scenario with Brian and his mother. You know the saying, with strings attached. This saying is exactly what we're talking about when it comes to our first barrier to receiving love. When someone gives something to you with strings attached, it feels like entrapment. And in truth, even if it was in fact on a subconscious level, the people in your life did give you love so that they could ensure to have power over you, so that they could guarantee that they had the upper hand. If you're one of these people, take a minute to show yourself some compassion, because in your life, love was a Trojan horse. 2, we may have a barrier to love if we feel unworthy of love. When we were treated in any way that was short of loving by our parents, we came to the decision that something was wrong with us. After all, unless something really was wrong with us, why the hell would we be treated that way? Because of this, we do not feel good enough for someone to love. We do not feel good enough for someone to love enough to give their energy to us. 3, this goes hand in hand with the last barrier to love. We may have a barrier to love if we feel as if we don't deserve the love that we're getting. Those of us who have deserving issues when it comes to love think that we have to earn love or achieve something in order to be loved. We think that if we didn't earn something enough to deserve something, we are bad and will get punished by the universe for it. If we do not understand what we did to deserve something that someone is giving us, we start to panic. For those of you who suffer from the deserving barrier to love, I want you to watch my YouTube videos titled Deserving versus Entitlement and Strike Deserve from your vocabulary. I also want you to ask yourself one question. What is so wrong about getting something that you didn't deserve? 4, we can have a barrier to receiving love if we're addicted to reciprocity. Those of us who are addicted to reciprocity feel as if demonstrations of love must be equal. Now, it sounds all well and good to say that love should be equal, but in reality, love doesn't work that way, and we think love should be equal for super shallow reasons. For example, for a person who fears that love is leverage, reciprocity guarantees that the other person does not have the upper hand and cannot guilt or entrap them later as a result of showing them love. We have a barrier to receiving when someone gives us something and we automatically, consciously or subconsciously think, what can I give them in return? Or, what do I owe them in return? 5, we can have a barrier to receiving if we fear losing love. A common reason for being unable to receive is previous experience with losing a loved one or losing someone's love. Whether it's someone disapproving of you and withdrawing from you, losing someone you love to death, experiencing a breakup, or something else, one of the most painful experiences we can have is having love and then losing it. This experience creates a scar, and on a subconscious level, we believe that it is better not to have love at all than to lose it, or better not to accept something at all, which could be taken back. If you distrust love, do not, I repeat, do not expect yourself to trust love that is given to you. A lot of people will tell you that the best way to learn how to accept love is to start trusting it. Well, the idea of trust is all well and good, but you can't force yourself to trust. And when you've been hurt by someone, which is the only reason you started distrusting in the first place, and you say, I'm going to trust you now, there's a portion of your inner being that says, you must think I'm a complete idiot. The rehabilitation process when it comes to being able to receive love begins with developing a life of complete transparency. What does transparency mean when it comes to receiving? It means make it your practice to get people to own what they are getting out of giving and start to own what you are getting out of giving. This makes it safer to receive. It also allows us to be able to decide whether or not to accept something that is laced with motives other than love. Beware that mixed motives are a possibility. It is possible to do something because you really like seeing the other person happy, but also because you want something in return. Let me give you an example of how transparency works in a practical level. Let's say that Graciela here made me some homemade chocolates.
Got you a present.
If I was to ask her to tell me why she made these chocolates for me, to expose her true motives behind this act, it might be tempting for Graciela to tell me, "I just wanted you to be happy." But in order to have an authentic relationship, which is completely transparent, we have to dig a little bit deeper than that. Now, if Graciela was to dig deeper, she might tell me something like this.
I wanted you to have some chocolates so you'd be happy because you've been wanting chocolates the whole week. But also I was jealous of you and Lauren because you guys have been spending a lot of time together. So if I give you some chocolates, maybe you'll spend some time with me.
See, even though it was not pure motives on Graciela's behalf, me knowing the motive made it so it felt safer for me to accept the gift that she was giving me. Now let's say that I was to make Graciela breakfast. It might be tempting when I'm looking at why I did this gesture, or what motive I had behind this, to say, I just thought you'd like it. But if I was to dig deeper as to the real motives, I might say something like this. Well, I knew you'd like this breakfast, but I've also been feeling super guilty about all the things you've been doing for me. So I made you this breakfast to try to get rid of the guilt. Make it a habit to expose what people are hoping to get out of giving you things. And make a habit of trying to expose what they hope that you will get out of giving you things. Again, I want to stress that total transparency, even if it is unsavory to admit these things, enables us to be safe to receive. The next step when it comes to learning how to receive is to recognize the ways that we turn away from receiving. Some examples of how we turn away from receiving might be, I only get things from others by giving first. I get stiff when people hug me. I withdraw emotionally. Or I deflect attention away from me by changing the subject. I assure you the list of ways that people turn away from receiving is endless. If you have a difficult time receiving, ask yourself, how do I turn away from receiving love and support? And how do I undermine love? It's also important to note that people must get love in some way. And if we can't come through the front door to get love, we come through the back door. We think we must give to get. Some examples of how we might give to get would be, we help others to get love, or we look our very best to get love, or we achieve to get love, or we act super nice to get love. What are you doing in order to get love? Once we find out why we don't recognize love, why we can't take in love, and why we can't hold on to love, the next step is to recognize love, to take love in, and to hold on to love. Step number 1, recognizing love. Take a while to think about what love means to you in its purest form. What does love look like? For those of you who have a difficult time recognizing love, I suggest that you read the book, The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. Pretend that you're a bird watcher, except instead of watching for birds, you're watching for demonstrations of love, as if you have to count those demonstrations and keep track of them. If you wish, you can solicit the help of other people to help you recognize love. Sometimes having someone observe your life and tell you this is love or that is love helps you to actually see it. Some time ago, I had a friend visit, and I solicited her help to help me recognize love when it happened. Sometime later that day, someone came in for a hug. Now, subconsciously, I did the same thing I always do, which is to recoil from that and brace myself so I wasn't fully taking that hug in. Under her breath, she whispered, "This is love." Now, without her saying that, I would never have recognized that gesture as a form of love, and so I would not have recognized the opportunity to take that love in. Step 2, taking in love. Once we recognize love, we have to consciously allow it into our being. To do this, we can practice feeling the somatic experience of it. Spend time in the feeling of it. I spend a lot of time talking about the value of spending time with your negative emotions, but it's also equally important to spend time in your positive emotions. This means when someone shows you love, experience the feeling of that experience in your body. Where in your body is that sense of accepting it as true or real? While your chest may have a resistance to it, your hands or knees might be wanting and accepting of it. Allow the feeling of acceptance of love to permeate your body. This means once you identify that your hands feel wanting and allowing of the love, consciously imagine spreading that sensation all across your body. Spend time immersed in that good feeling, abundant sensation. Remember that the longer you experience that sensation, the more it is ingrained in your brain and the easier it will be to receive in the future. Another good way of taking in loving gestures is to literally imagine yourself taking that energy into your body. If someone gives you a gift, close your eyes and imagine taking that energy in. If someone gives you a compliment, take a deep breath and imagine breathing that compliment in. If someone hugs you, imagine taking that embrace and allowing it to reach all the way to the core of your being. Choose to dissolve your own barriers to let love in. Another aspect of letting love in is to find out what your missing experience is and to allow yourself to get it. This begins with a universal truth that you can get what you need and want. You deserve to have your needs met. On a side note, one of the best things you can do for another person is to figure out what experience in life they are missing and then provide it for them. Maybe we grew up in a family that didn't accept us for who we are. That means that our missing experience is a sense of being accepted for who we really are, exactly as we are. Another example is, I might be missing the experience of being helped to achieve something, or I might be missing the experience of play. Your job is to take steps towards having that experience which you're missing. Spend time observing people who are good at receiving love. Keep an open mind to new opinions and new perspectives about love so that you can start changing your idea about it. If you have a difficult time receiving, the idea of love is akin to the idea of poison. We have to be willing to have an open mind and search for new definitions of love, if we're ever to open to the idea of it. This helps us to untangle love from what love isn't. One of the best ways to learn how to receive love and gain insights about love is to watch children. Small children are still living in a state where giving and receiving love is natural and pure. 3. Holding on to love. For some of us, even after love does come in, it's almost like there are holes that are poked in the bottom of our being, and that love leaks out as fast as it came. When we feel unloved, we tend to withdraw. When we do this, we cap off our ability to receive love, and all the reserves of love that were within us drain away. Instead of withdrawing and isolating yourself when you feel negative emotion, seek out connection. Don't lie and say, "I'm fine." Express yourself. Practice the art of allowing yourself to be vulnerable. This ensures that your internal love container will not be like a water well in the middle of the Sahara Desert. One aspect of holding on to love is developing self-support. Once you learn how to give yourself love and support yourself, you have a permanent source of love that you can rely on. Some examples of self-support are learning how to love yourself, taking good care of yourself physically, being who you really are, processing, seeking insight, surrounding yourself with people who are loving and who increase your self-worth, initiating finding help. Remember that I'm helping myself by finding support. A good way to develop a long-term hold on love is to learn how to love in others what you hate in yourself. A funny thing happens when you learn to approve of the things you hate about yourself by approving of those same traits in other people. You start to open up to the idea, even on a subconscious level, that you're not completely hateable, that you might in fact be lovable. And because of this, you're more able to receive love and more able to keep that love long term. Keep reminders of love near you. When we're bad at receiving and bad at keeping love, we tend to write love off as if it was never real. That means the minute we break up with someone, we get rid of all their love letters because it's not true anymore. But what we have to admit to is that it was real in that moment. The love was not false. Love is not nullified by the passage of time or by changing circumstance. What reminds you that you are loved? Is it a picture? Is it an item? Is it a quote? Keep anything that reminds you that you are loved within plain sight. Look for proof that love is not scarce and is not going to go away. Is there love in your life that is permanent? Is it possible that if someone withdraws love, someone else will fill their space and offer you even better love? Those of us who have a resistance to receiving love live lives of desperation and deprivation. Even people on this planet who are deprived of food and water do not suffer in the ways that people who are deprived of love suffer. You deserve to experience a life where you are not deprived, especially of love. As the legendary Sufi mystic Rumi once said, "Your task is not to seek love. Your task is to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." Have a good week.